Hey, Assalamualaikum. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your girl, Afnan, and I'm here with my lovely co-host.
Hey, how are you, Afnan?
Good. You want to let the people know your name?
Yeah, sure.
Go for it.
So I'm Farah. I do accept all renditions of my name.
Mashallah, you're so much more
I don't have a big issue around it. Some people do. They're like, you
do.
have to say my name exactly this way.
There's like 3 or 4 variations I'll accept, but outside of that, like, kick rocks. Bro.
Yeah, but I am okay with people who have strong, like they have a strong opinion around how you pronounce their name.
Yeah.
I'm cool with
Very
it.
respectful,
Yeah,
mashallah.
I don't mind. But for me,
Yeah.
you can Farah or Farah are
Okay.
the two things
Very
that I
cool.
accept. Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Yes.
Tell us about yourself, Afnan.
Yes. So I, by day, I work for a Fortune 50 company, which is
Okay.
super cool. My 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
And on my side hustle, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a social media content strategist. So I help brands and influencers scale their business by using social media marketing strategies. So it's super cool.
Super cool. So how do you feel about like the term side hustle?
You know what? It kind of felt weird saying it. Like,
Yeah.
so the other
Are
day
you accepting it?
someone was like, oh, you're it's not a side hustle because it's like a full-fledged business. Like, you're
Yeah.
legit. You're an entrepreneur. Yeah, entrepreneur. Lord. Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I am finally an entrepreneur. Something I wanted for a very, very long time.
But we also took a long break too. So that's why I was like, I don't know about side hustle. Like, this is a real thing.
Yeah,
and then we're
yeah.
also prioritizing our well-being. Like, I'm on that Nat
Absolutely.
Ministry. Are you familiar with her on Instagram? She has an entire thing about like rest.
Yeah.
For like black people and just
Yes, I
people like
love
the
it. We
hustle,
need
like
more
that's
of it.
not cute, you know, like you saying that you're the doer of all things, you know, it's just not necessary, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to, and you prioritized your wellness, you know, we both did by taking some time off, alhamdulillah. Yeah, so I'm Farah. I am a healthcare provider, right? I'm the checker of eyes, I say, right? People are like, hey, can I get an eye exam? I'm like, not that type, right? So I do a lot of like hospital-based care, emergency room care, mostly in glaucoma. I've been trying to be a little more open about it because my sister's like, it is so weird when you say that you're a healthcare provider. And I'm just like, I tried to have a little bit of anonymity, right?
Yeah.
But I'm actually, you know, at work, I don't want them to know nothing about me.
Listen, we've
right?
talked about that.
We've
in a whole
talked about
episode.
this.
Like, mind your business. No, we can't kick it. We're not going to do lunch. Go
Yeah,
away.
go away. Like, I don't really tell them. And like when they add me on Instagram and stuff, I'm like,
You let them
add
add. I block. I don't care.
I hide my stories, but I think, I have a different, like, it's different, right? Not gonna lie here, NGL, like, don't want you in my life like that, right? And the thing is that they like swap spit a lot, right? Like people are married in the department, like fraternization. I just, just try to mind my business at work and sit in my little corners. But yeah, so my job allows me to have a lot more free time to really kind of pursue my passions of like the love and the liberty of like black and brown people, and just like anti-oppressive forces, like anti-capitalistic, right? And that's funny because we have an interesting episode today about work ethic. But
We do. That was like a really great segue. And I love the conversation about like black people and rest. I have no shame in saying I take 6 months off every 6 months.
When you did that, I was like,
from social media. And then somebody was like, oh my God, but like, how are you social media strategist? I was like, I still have clients. They still love my work.
Yeah.
And I was like, I do this every year. We did this last year because, last summer and around July, there was the whole thing with just incident after George Floyd. Yeah. And I was sick. I was over it. And so I'm like, guys, this is a yearly thing. This is an annual thing. I just go ghost.
Yeah, I think this time was a little longer. I think last time you did 3 months.
No, I think it was
6 months.
No, it wasn't 6 months. I'm exaggerating. It wasn't 6
this
months.
time was like a little longer.
Yeah,
but you got to take the time that you need. Like,
girl,
I'm all about that. Like I told my my boss, she's my mentor. I'm so like fortunate to have like the person that my direct report is an African American woman, right? And so she's also my mentor. She's a full professor. So I'm like, I want to be you,
That's
right?
Awesome.
Alhamdulillah. But she like signs me up for everything. And I'm like, what? And I had a lot of stuff going on, and I had to, this is what I used. I used a tech strategy from like our friend Huda that we bring up on the pod every single time.
Shout out to Huda.
Shout out her
we'll
out.
never not shout her out.
Always. That's the homie. But she was like, just tell her that you don't have the capacity to do such and such. Yeah. So I said that, and literally,
what did she say?
Homegirl, she's a baby boomer, right?
Okay.
She just does not get this lingo.
Yeah.
Laughing emojis. What exactly are you doing where you can't do this? And I'm like, I just told you I do not have the capacity to do extra credit. I don't want the extra credit. Okay. This is not in my job description to like give you this material has nothing to do with what I do on a daily basis. Yeah. So she just laughed.
She laughed some more?
I just like left it alone. I just did not respond. I'm all about like I told you. But the thing is, I have a lot of autonomy at my job, right? And it's just like I do what I got to do and I leave. And then there are things that you do on the extra to add to your resume, so I can like promote myself,
of course,
to be like eligible for promotion.
Yes,
but I didn't want to do that thing, you know. Yeah. But she's part of the baby boomer, like this whole like millennial Gen Z. I don't want to do this right now, right? Or I'm going to take some time. That's not acceptable to her. Yeah. And she always tells me about her children and she expects them to do the most as well because she did the most. And that's why she's where she's at.
Ooh, let's talk
it's a formula for success, but it's grind culture, nigga. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to participate in that.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting, right? I'm like really trying to think about my own well-being.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes grind culture makes us like push our body or not listen to our body. So we're pushing beyond our capacity sometimes when really, and this is like part of the femininity that we all hold, like both men and women. I'm really trying to see how I feel. Like, does this align?
Being in touch with your body and really knowing where you stand.
Exactly.
I love that.
Right? And so I'm trying to be a little better even about the customer service experiences that I receive around like, they're doing the most and they don't have to do that, but I'm very grateful when people do, right? When they just treat you well. Like, Publix, I love it.
Chick-fil-A, we love
Publix, Chick-fil-A, they do the most, right? But I do go there more often than let's say a Dollar Tree. Oh. Right? Girl. But then you think about like wages too, right?
Yeah,
right?
You have to be mindful of that.
You have to be mindful of that, of just like what we're expecting, grind culture. I want you to do the most, right? Yeah. But then are people paying people for the most? So I've been really into that feminine space of just like sitting back and just observing, you know, relaxing, kind of feeling, you know, what I want to do. Vibing. Really, vibing with myself, bro.
Vibing
just like
with yourself.
You got to. Yeah, you got to. You got to. Yeah.
I want to actually take it back to like what you said in terms of a mentor. My direct mentor for over the last year was a Black woman who I really admired.
How was that?
I still admire, look up to. And so I can totally relate to, and she's a little bit older than me, but not by much. And she will also like sign me up for stuff. And I had to have the conversation like,
what did he say?
What? I was like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't settle. She's like, you are in your prime right now. So she's pushing me with the experiences that she has of like, you can do this. And I also had like other friends, like male friends who were doing the most and obviously were super successful, like getting promoted. Like you have the receipts. It's one thing to like be on grind and hustle mode and you don't actually get any of the fruits of that labor, but you know, they were getting promoted. They were getting, you know, they were doing the damn thing, which is awesome. And I remember like also feeling a push for myself for them to be like they would say like, you need to come harder, you need to do this. Like, I know you just got promoted last year, but you can also get promoted this year. And for a long time I thought that that's what I had to do. And then as I got more comfortable in my business, I was like, I don't have to do this because there's work that I could do for longer periods of time that's even more grueling in terms of effort that I would do joyously rather than just like hustle, grind, move, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I've told my friends recently, I had a conversation with one of my friends, Henry, and I was like, you know, Henry, I feel like I just had to learn to stay in my own lane. Yeah. And that even though I wanted to climb the corporate ladder, I had a lot to prove to myself and to my family that like a Black Muslim woman could do it and she can kick ass.
And she did, yes.
And I did, alhamdulillah. I'm very happy to say. It still feels like surreal, but like I did it. And I can continue to stay in this space because it works for me and it works for the company. It's mutually beneficial right now.
Yeah.
But I don't have to go for the VP spot. I've released myself from like that vision of like, I don't have to do that. Like I could be successful in a bunch of different other ways, like my own business, our podcast, which we've invested a lot of time, effort, and energy into. And it doesn't have to be the level of success. And I think that sometimes the generations before us, or even older folks in our generation, have like their recipe for success and they push it on the next generation.
For sure.
And it's out of a place of love and care. Right? Like I think our parents, you know, there's always like the joke about like Africans or Indians or whatever will tell their children, doctor, lawyer, pharmacist, that's it. Engineer, maybe. Right? But it's because that worked for them.
The formula
at their
of success.
Time.
Yeah.
And I think something I'm trying to be mindful of is like, while an online business is booming right now, it could be something else when my kids are here, inshallah.
Listen to this. So I have a Gen Z brother. He's 20 years old, right? Yeah. So he's in college right now. The kid, we've always like we have 4 siblings in total. Mashallah, the 3 older siblings, right? Like us, like we've always had a job, right? There's a formula of success, right? But we're all millennials, and he's kind of at the end, right? Tail end of it, and he's a Gen Zer for sure. Yeah. So I'm just like, yo, bro, like you need a job. Like, come on out of work. Like I want him to understand work ethic around like you have like wages that you use to like supplement a lifestyle, right? But he like is all into like gaming, NFTs. He did a really interesting business where he was on Instagram putting reels, like video content with music. The kid did original reels. Like I'm just thinking about this right now, right? He had 500,000 followers before his time, like in 2010, 2015, like around that range. Wow. And then ended up selling the 500,000 account for $5,000. Wow. Kid does NFTs, right? What are those? I don't know. They're like something fiduciary. I don't get it, right? Yeah, so it's something that my two brothers really love, but he's been making money. It's very lucrative. So then for me, I'm like, what does productivity, work, wages, money, entrepreneurship, what does that look like in a new generation? So I've had to shut down like, boy, get a job at Publix, okay? And get public stock, right? Yeah. You know?
Shifting the mindset.
Shifting my own mindset and accepting how he like is taking care of himself, right? And so my other two siblings, like the middle siblings, aren't willing to really understand that. And they're like, he's lazy. And I'm like, no, like reframe your thinking around how he's showing up, right?
And I think that's super challenging. It's hard for generations to do. Like, for sure. Like right now, like I absolutely love college, but like I'm mentally preparing myself right now that if my kid says like, oh, I don't want to go to school, I want to do a startup in high school, and he doesn't even like, could I be okay with that, right? And just preparing myself that there's going to be a different generation, a different time, and I'm here to be a guide. I'm not here to imprint my blueprint. I mean, there's going to be some things, I'm sorry, it's just hardwired, you're going to right? But trying to be more open-minded about, I'm supposed to guide you as a parent, right? As like,
this is your life,
or an older sister, right? Which is hard because we've talked about this multiple times in the podcast. We're both the oldest, and there's like blurred lines between being a parent and a sibling, and sometimes you have to reel it back. But really just being open-minded to the fact that there's different ways to do stuff, and there's not a one-size-fits-all for everybody.
Not at all. And so I'm actually quite impressed with him. The thing is, I think as millennials,
we were about to hire him for some work.
I know. We have. I think he did some like our cover art or just something.
He's awesome.
I'm just super impressed with him. I'm trying to reframe my mind around like the work that he's doing and how he's producing. I think millennials, though, I think what we love to do is like we're kind of Obama's kids, right? Like we elected him,
Obama
right?
And
Rihanna. He was like the first president to really use social media. We are the generation. There was a funny thing that someone said on Twitter around like we're the generation born in chaos and we're like Rihanna's children, right?
That's so facts. When you said that to me, like I totally related. I was like, wait, what? But I was like, no, literally,
we are. And they also said something like it was about Steph Curry and his wife, and he like recently is filing for divorce because I think there's some like cheating allegation with her. And then the guy was like, go back to your wife. Like you don't want to come out here. He was like, they're starting podcast. So I just I thought that was so funny. But like as millennials, I think we love to be part of the system, right? Because Obama's part of a baby boomer where he works within systems. So even though he was a hippie, right, and he like was able to he wanted to like change the world, but he's always been like, let's change within systems. And that's where he kind of misses the mark now. It's his core foundation, but he's not a post-COVID world. Like his system does not work. And like his book comes out during COVID and it just it doesn't hit, right? About like, I think he had commentary around the uprisings last summer and it just missed the mark, right? And he's a within systems person. And I think millennials, like we're taking the baton from baby boomers, right? I think Gen X is like we're snatching it, right? But they're also tired. They're finally like retiring, right? And so I think as millennials, what we love to do is work within systems, but also be kind of destructive and disruptive, right?
And change the system.
We want to change the system, but we understand the system and we still work within it, right? And so now what I'm trying to do when I look at my little brother of like, let me out, because I'm able to have and house like both systems within, I'm looking at him like, okay, I understand that you are working outside of this system. And I'm cool with it, right?
Yeah.
And so you just have to reframe your mind around what the world is going to look like moving forward.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm impressed with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, even like some of my like younger cousins who have not even graduated high school, like they have businesses and websites, and I'm like, look at you.
It's different.
And I love that they're willing to just try stuff.
Yeah.
Right. I think a lot of us like adopted the fears of our parents and like, be careful, don't do that, and you know what I mean.
But we know both worlds.
Yeah.
So I think we are primed to take over as like leaders, right?
For sure.
I think we are going to be the group of like people who push people forward. But I wonder how we do that and we're not like problematic around like even how we produce work. Prioritizing rest and well-being. I love all these folks who are like, I'm staying on unemployment, right? There was like this podcast that came out recently about, it was the Daily, I think it's New York Times if you want to listen to it, about they were interviewing people who decided to like take unemployment and do it for a longer period of time, and they realized like I had no idea I was physically aching and had no idea.
I told you about how my experience was. Like I was just like I didn't realize how bad it was that I wasn't taking care of myself.
Lot.
I was doing a lot.
Yeah.
Girl, took a break and still doing a fucking lot.
I know, but like I think hopefully you're primed and like you're able to understand like how you prioritize your well self.
I have the routines now. I have the triggers. I have the balance. I think I know when I can go and where my limit is, and I know how to check back in to get back to center.
You got to.
Yeah, and I think that's super important. Like going back to like the conversation we were talking about, like systems. I think sometimes it's easy for us to judge someone and say like, oh, they're lazy. Like, oh, like you have a great talent, but you don't want to be an entrepreneur. Or you know, it's very easy to like put people in buckets or assign them like characteristics because of what we see. Yeah. And I think even when you're having interactions with people like in customer service, like you're gonna get something different when you go to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A. You know, it's not gonna be the same.
Yeah. And like we were pleasantly surprised. We went to Taco Bell recently.
Tell the story. Yeah, go for it.
Yes, we both love Taco Bell.
Listen, judge your mammy, okay?
Yeah. Awesome. It was delicious, but it was like late night, right? Yeah. So usually you have the late crew. They're kind of more chill because the manager's probably not on scene, right? And then she was like really pleasant. We had lots of questions at Taco Bell. Why? Maybe they had like new menu items, right? Yeah. And she was just really kind, really high spirited, and we were just vibing with her. Yeah. And we were impressed because I don't even expect that at Taco Bell.
It was late, and specifically what I was asking for, like I got the crunch wrap. No, I got the case. What is it that I got? Chalupas. Yes, girl, I love me some chalupas. And so I was asking. I was like, we know it's late. It's risky. Like our stomachs may hate us in the morning. I was like, is it fresh? And she's like, girl, it's fresh. And I was like, no. But like, did you guys just make it? She's like, I got you. When I got the I got you, sis, I knew it was in great hands.
We were in great hands, but I think we were both like pleasantly surprised by the experience. Yes. Because I mean, if you're working a job, and presumably I think Taco Bell is a low wage job, right?
Yeah, they don't pay the best.
They don't pay the best, right? And so you're thinking like, how much do you exactly want me to produce here, right? Like, am I supposed to go above and beyond? And I grew up in a culture of just like when I was growing up in high school and after college, where the people who hired me wanted to pay me minimum wage at $7.25, and I can't believe that's still minimum wage. It's insane. Nuts, like, astaghfirullah, fear God, you know, like. With all the inflation that's gone on in the world, and that's still minimum wage, like
you need. I think they said you need an average of 3.45 jobs, minimum wage jobs, to make a decent living.
I was living with my mama for free. You know what I mean?
Child.
Yeah, and so I remember he owned his own business, right? It was a eye doctor's office. This is before I went to school, and so he expected at $7.25, my dude, that you did all the tasks and were willing and chipper to do it. And I remember I never brought my lunch ever, so I never had Tupperware or anything, and he had like a really dope kitchen system in his private practice office.
Yeah.
And Becky, why would her name be Becky?
Is her name really
her
Becky?
Name was Becky. Lord. Yeah, I called her Miss Becky because I'm from the South, so we always do Miss, Mr., Ma'am, Sir, right? Auntie. There's always like there's like always a prefix name, right? For respect. And she asked me to unload the dishwasher. Ooh, yo, the Somali like fire came out.
Goodness.
I was like, I don't ever use the dishes.
I'm
You're
not gonna
not
do
my
that.
mother. And this is a job where you pay me the minimum, my dude, right? And so it ended up being a whole thing where I was brought into the principal's office. Like, he brought me in, and I was like, yo, doctor, like, I'm not doing this. Like, this is where this stops, right? And I had to speak up for myself, but I just, like, how dare you pay me this amount of money, right?
Yeah.
And then try to get me to do tasks that are not within my like job description. Like, look at it. But he was like, I employ you, so you're going to do what I tell you to do. And they're at will state too. So it's just like, I can fire you. So I don't, he didn't. He didn't fire
the dishwasher.
Hell no, I did not. I was willing to be fired. I've always, there's always like where my line is, even as a younger person. And I was like a teenager at the time. I was like, I will take it. My parents will be down, you know?
Yep.
And I feel like, were your parents like this? Like, I've raised you well, so if you have gotten to a point where you're like, no, period, right?
Oh, no, absolutely
like they rode for me. No. They were just like, oh, you don't got to do that.
And it depends on what the situation was. I think my parents are still always like very mindful of like, I think I've always been a little bit more outspoken. So I was like, oh God, what did you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think at some point now it's like, I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I think that also translates to like the workspace. I think sometimes it's quick for us to like judge someone or feel like someone's in it. Like, especially when you're talking to the manager and the manager is incompetent. Have you had that situation where it's like the manager don't know the policy? It's like, bro, I just read the policy that's right here on the
You
go
are
get
the
your
reader
manager.
most. They can get me because I'm just...
No. We were at Best Buy. We were at Best Buy yesterday and we were grabbing some equipment, and the cashier lady assumed, she's just going through her job. She was really sweet, by the way. And so she starts the process of picking up the order that we ordered online. And she whatever the process was, like, oh yes, the item is here. I'm checking her out. So that froze it, and she ended up, we couldn't find the item that was supposed to be there reserved for Farah, right? And so then she locked it out, so then we couldn't cancel it on our side. She couldn't cancel on her side. So we had to go get the manager, right? So she was like, oh, you should be able to do it on your phone. And Farah was like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, Farah, move aside. I was like, first of all, it can, because it's in progress. Like, you've just started this. And I think all folks who've worked retail, like, no, there's always an out. Just no matter how nice you want to be.
Exactly.
But at the same time, we had the conversation when we were driving home, like, well, how do we know that they prepared her for success in terms of like learning the situation, right? Because I find, and this is, I'm going to go there. I find that our Black and brown folks don't get the same, like, here, let me take you under the wing. Let me show you. The mentorship is not the same.
Like, are we really set up for success at our jobs? We just had a diversity, equity, inclusion grand rounds where they brought in a speaker, and they specifically wrote that Black and brown providers, right, or just people at jobs, don't have the adequate mentorship to scale the ladder, so to speak. So
the data is very, very clear.
You're not going to be able to be fully promoted because you lack mentorship. You don't know who to, like, rub shoulders with at the end of the day.
Yes. Because I think that the data shows that we're most likely to take people under our wing as like mentees who look and act like us. And if there's not enough diversity in the workplace, that it's you and whoever the hell wants to take the charity case, which is sometimes how it's perceived, which is terrible. Because you have this compounding effect. It happens in high school and then college and then your first job. So by the time you're, in your 30s, you've missed out on tons of learning. And it's so easy for someone to say, like, oh, you're just unqualified for the job, or you don't have the experience necessary, versus like helping you fill the gaps. And that can be really difficult. And I try my best, like, in situations where I'm looking at somebody like, bro, why don't you know what the hell
where's the customer service?
I always try to remember, like, but they could maybe be
there's
not
a lack
set up
in
for
the
success.
training.
Absolutely.
Set up for success. Or they just they're not going to do that work because of how much they're getting paid. It's like outside of the capacity. Like, you go to Dollar Tree expecting like full on service, right?
I'm presently surprised when I get like decency.
Be pleasant, right? And so decency is like something that you should always get, right? But like, so this is funny. We had Dr. Duyan. Dr. Duyan was telling me that she was a waiter during graduate school. And then she was like, if you have a bad day, right? And this is her getting tipped wages. Do they give you docked pay? And I thought that was really fascinating. So now I've created, like, anytime I go to like a waiter, like, it's not, oh, there's a sliding scale of like, you suck right now, and so now I'm going to give you 10%. Like, you should always give 20%, and then you should scale up if they do a more exceptional job than what's standard, right?
I won't do that.
You won't do that?
No, absolutely
But
not.
that's tipped wages, so they're getting paid at a lower rate. What's tipped wage? Like, they start at $3.25,
something
$3.25
like that.
or something
Crazy.
So insane. Like, they're having to beg. But then I went to Australia maybe a few summers ago. They don't have customer service. They have full, they get paid fully. And I mean, the service was just not it. It was like, nigga, go get your own ketchup. It was, and I'm like, well, where is the ketchup?
Right.
It's just like, like, I didn't know, right? Yeah, it's like behind the counter, you got to go get it. But it was just like you didn't get that service.
Yeah.
So it's I'm trying to always like think that this person's a person, right? And they could be having a good day or a bad day, but like trying to scale my expectation around stuff.
Speaking of expectations, right? I think it's super interesting. So after COVID, when we moved to Dallas, I tried my best to find all Black doctors and all Black healthcare providers.
How was that experience?
Oh my God, I'm so sad. Okay, so first of all, it's hard to find like dermatologist, chiropractor, female, let alone Black, is like you're looking for the unicorn. Okay, so the first person that I found was a Black dentist.
Okay, that's dope.
Yeah, so she had a practice with a woman, I believe, of Indian descent. And so when I got in there, you know, everybody's Black. Like the receptionist behind the counter is Black, which initially I was so excited about until like they're like lost my x-rays from when I transferred to Atlanta. I was CC'd on the email, so I know that they got it. And it's like, hey, so I'm here for my appointment. Like, oh, well, we didn't get it. And then she's asking her friend, like, girl, how do I do this? Don't worry about it. We could just take new x-rays. It's like, no, I have somewhere to be after this. So I was a little frustrated. And I was also disappointed because I'm like, you know, okay, so I'm going to say it. You know, sometimes you want to patron Black businesses and then they drop the ball and you're just upset. You're upset. It doesn't happen always, but I find myself particularly disappointed.
More disappointed
when it's a Black business that I was looking very excited to support. Yeah. And they don't meet my expectations. Like I find I'm even more disappointed.
Do you because we're holding ourselves to this like talent intent, like exceptionalism, do you want exceptional service?
No, I would have been fine with good enough.
Good enough, like.
But it's painful when I feel and can very much see like a decrease, excuse me, I'm stuttering so bad, a decrease in either performance or overall delivery. So for example, when I struggle to floss my teeth every day, I expect a lecture when I go to my dentist's office. I feel like that's the level of care. If I know that I'm overweight and I go to my provider and they're like, you're doing great, and it's clear that I'm overweight, if you're just like sister girl and hey girl, you look good, but you're not you're not prioritizing my health, it's a problem. So when I went to the dentist, right, the hygienist was Black and she literally cleaned my teeth for maybe 2 minutes, like with the machines. I literally had to call Aaliyah. Aaliyah is also a Black dentist who I love. She's in Chicago, and I had to.
You want your gums to bleed?
Yeah, I need them. I need to know, right?
Which is maybe a sign that you have gingivitis.
No, literally, it shouldn't be bleeding, but like you should.
But you want to have like a, they clean.
I know I needed a lecture, so it literally took her 2 minutes. I was very, very disappointed. And I was like, Leah, okay, so I was looking for a Black dentist, and she understood where I was coming from. She's like, no, she's like, so we walked through like some of the things that I was looking for that was missed. She's like, no, at this point, like your perception of like compromised care is valid, and you need to go see someone else. And I went back, like here in Atlanta, I actually went back to go to my original dentist. And they were like, okay, not bad, but I can literally showed me on the x-ray between what they sent over. They're like, this is what was missed. And I was like, oh, and that made me so sad.
Do Black people, okay, so let's say that's a shitty office, right? Yeah. Right? And like
very nice people.
Yeah, very nice, right? But then you think like, oh, there are plenty of dentists that are whack, right? But I get it. Like I think we do have an idea around like exceptionalism for Black people, right? Because we expect that they're going to do decently. Like we want them to do really well, but there may be a place that just sucks. And then you go to another place.
You know what? I feel like I would have
just go find another Black dentist.
But the problem was it took me so long. And it took me like literally, I think it was 4 months just to get into her office. Compared to like the 9 or 8 months for everybody else who wasn't Black, right?
I feel you.
So now it's like,
you have a point. You do.
It literally, I was like, I called my own dentist, like, can I come back, please? Yeah. And they were like, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's just easier, and it takes concerted effort to go and find another one.
I have a similar experience, right? So when I'm in a clinic and we have like our nurses that work with you specifically and help, they kind of work up the patients, and we're working collaboratively to see the patients. I do notice a difference between sometimes like and I don't think it's like the Black nurses versus the non-Black nurses, right? But it's like specific personalities, right? I'm like, oh, if these two come together, if I have these two women who are working,
phenomenal.
That's going to be a strong group. They're both pushing each other. I'm going to get out at 4:00, right? And then I have another group of people, right? And it's just like their personalities, maybe they're gelling, maybe they don't. They're waiting for the other person to take the patient before they do, right? They're just not like grabbing the baton, you know? Then I'm getting out at 5:00, right? 5:30, you know? And it's still a decent day, but it's just like, oh my God, you know? So I think it's more just individuals and like their specific work ethic.
Yeah, for sure.
And like some people are just like, I'm a get her done person. I'm just like, I would rather push through and get out early. But people have different personalities.
Absolutely.
Like they're almost, my well-being is getting out, where people prioritize their well-being throughout the day of just like, I'm not going to stress myself beyond in this moment. So can I be mad? Like I realize I'm like 4 or 5:30, just chill out. Especially with COVID, wallahi, it has, I swear, I just sit back now. Where before they knew me because they could hear my heels walking up and down. Lord. I'm like, what are you doing? And I would listen. I'm like, what is she doing in there? She's been with this patient for like 30 minutes. That's not necessary, right? So I do notice, but I now looking back at it and I'm scaling this a little, I'm thinking it's more like personalities and people, right?
No, for sure. I just wanted to speak to the fact of like, it's also like as a Black woman, our experience has another layer to it. Is kind of what I was
definitely.
As well.
And especially, I think you're an exceptional person. I think I am always trying to provide exceptional care, and I try not to have off days. I try not, because I'm like, this is their one experience with me. I want it to be phenomenal, right?
Mashallah. Shout out to the
there are
healthcare providers who care.
I care, but like sometimes at 3:45, 4, like literally the lady was laughing at me because she wasn't taking her medication, and I was like, this is your fault. And I was like, I can't sugarcoat it right now because it's 4:00. So I thank you for giving me space. But this is, like,
get your shit together.
I literally was saying that. And she was laughing because I was like, you're getting it this way. You're not getting it the 8 a.m. peppy pep
I love
in
that
my
she
step.
laughed and like held
she
space
laughed,
for you. And,
right?
Like,
she was another Black woman. So she could understand the jab, I couldn't do, depending on personalities, you can tell, like, I can give you the jab versus like, oh, I have to handhold and like massage.
I like people like straight no
straight
chaser.
Shooter, and I would be able to read your personality, like so it's just interesting, like how you're getting people and personalities and how you gel with people, and that's where I think work ethic comes. Like, think about our work, like together. It's like
we're different.
We're so different, but we work.
Absolutely.
But literally, y'all.
Let's talk about it.
We speak 2 different languages.
Our
languages.
Totally, like,
should be like, run that again. Say that again. Say that again. Say
I don't
that again.
understand.
I'm like,
sometimes.
oh my God. I was like, you're constricting my creativity, you know? But
sometimes it's like we're so far and like wild child, like vibing, we got no work done, and I'm like, Farah, can we talk about this?
I know. And so it's just a perfect balance of like the creativity and the instruction and the concreteness, right? And then you've really taught me how to like articulate my needs a little better.
You've done so well.
Thank you. Or like sometimes I still will jab, right? But then I'll apologize. And you make space for that. I'm just like, okay, she's doing a lot and I'm not going to gas the doing a lot.
Yeah.
Right? And I appreciate that.
Because I appreciate when people hold space for me too.
Yes, I try to. I'm just like,
because you see like lighting, for example. Farah will be like, it looks good enough. And I'm like, no, it's a little off. Let's just one more minute. Let's just adjust this.
Yeah.
Right? Versus like topics, I'll be like, freestyle. And Farah's like, let's do research.
We need to research. And so I don't know if you guys can tell, I've been trying to lean into the more freestyle space, right? And just trying to come off the top rather than being like, the study said 69% of people.
In 1945. Yes. But you're so good at it. People will tell me, Farah, and I know you hate it, but it's such a compliment and an endearing one from like everybody that I've heard. Like, you're so factual, and you're like, the education you provide is so necessary. Because I'd be like, I think somebody said this back then, but maybe I'm lying.
I know.
Fact check me.
I know. So, I haven't been given a lot of facts except for what's off the dome, right? It's not like an article I just read.
Yeah.
And so I think it's working.
Yeah.
Y'all let us know if you want like more facts, because I will read the articles.
Yes.
Yeah, because I love it. But I realize that we have an experiential knowledge. There's an experiential knowledge that sometimes I don't allow myself to lean into. Of just like, let me just vibe. Except I do it in my friend spaces.
And that's the part I think for me is frustrating, because you do it
I do
so
it in friend spaces
gracefully,
where I vibe.
and I just love listening to you.
Yeah.
And then when you get in the podcast, sometimes it's like, because you have such a high level of excellence, I think you want to do it really well.
I really want to do it well.
And I'm like, but your personality is enough.
Yeah, and then I want to like report the news, right? Do you guys watch Real Housewives of Potomac?
No, you know I don't watch that.
One woman, like she's really dope. She's actually someone who I think leans into like exceptionalism, right? Like she needs a nap. Like Nat Ministry needs to like do something with her. But she is a Nigerian woman, super dope. And then she's also like a CNN commentator, or like a news commentator, a political commentator. And so she's like a professor at Hopkins. And so she's always like, my name is Dr. Wendy, you know, but like she talks to her friends like she's on the news. Yes. She's like, Johnny, today we have seen several people who have been hurt. You know, like it's just like a few minutes late. Yes. And it's just really obnoxious. So I get it. Like I'm just, we're just trying to vibe here.
Yeah, mashallah.
Yeah.
But I think we're doing a great job. Yeah. I know that we've been adjusting our flow. Style and flow. But we really want to hear from you guys. So let us know. I think honestly, like these episodes have been super fun. You know, if you guys are just catching in, we took a little bit of a hiatus and we were back. And so we've just kicked off the season with our new set, our new audio. So definitely rate and review if you guys are watching on podcasts or anywhere that you guys like to hang out, on internet and on the net. And then as well, if you guys follow us on Instagram, make sure that you like and subscribe. Follow us on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, check us out.
We thank you guys for listening in today.
Yes.
All right.
But anyway, we'll wrap that up. Take care.
See ya.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye.